The rain fell softly, drenching the quiet Oregon woods in a cold embrace as headlights dimmed slowly beneath tangled branches. Amid shattered glass and twisted metal, a German shepherd lay trembling, his gentle eyes fixed unwaveringly on a young girl whose breathing was faint and fragile. Before we unravel what happened next, tell us, from where in the world are you listening right now? Let your place become a part of this heartfelt journey we're about to share. Rain cascaded down relentlessly over the dense forests of Oregon, each droplet striking the leaves with a rhythmic whisper. Beneath the shroud of darkness, twisted metal glistened, reflecting fragments of moonlight scattered through the storm. Inside the crumpled sedan, Lily, a fragile 10-year-old girl with chestnut curls and innocent eyes, lay motionless, her head gently resting against the shattered window. Beside her, Hannah, her mother, young and nurturing, her golden hair now tangled with glass shards, was silent and unresponsive. The air inside was heavy, filled with the scent of wet earth and gasoline, the only sound a faint, uneven breathing. Scout, the family's loyal German shepherd, a proud dog of 5 years, whose coat was a deep sable flecked with gold, paced nervously near the wreck. His amber eyes glowed softly with urgency and intelligence, scanning the scene. The wind tugged at his thick fur, causing him to shiver as droplets traced rivulets down his muscular frame. Instinctively, Scout nudged Lily's small hand with his cold nose, whimpering gently, his heart aching with confusion and worry. The girl's fingers twitched slightly in response, giving him the faintest spark of hope. Scout backed away, his powerful legs tensed before he sprang forward, bounding quickly through the slippery underbrush, his paws sinking into the mud with each desperate leap. The forest felt endless, dark shapes towering ominously as if guarding secrets. Thunder echoed through the night, drowning Scout's sharp barks into mere whispers swallowed by the wind. He paused briefly, panting heavily, ears perked for any sound of human presence. But his calls for help went unanswered, lost among the rustle of leaves and distant, fading echoes. Realizing his attempts were futile, Scout's heart weighed heavily with the agony of helplessness. With each passing moment, his anxiety grew. He knew Lily needed him, needed warmth, needed comfort. His decision was swift, determined by an unwavering loyalty deeply embedded in his soul. Scout turned, plunging back into the shadowy depths, ignoring the sharp branches scraping against his sides, driven solely by the need to protect his family. Returning to the wreckage, Scout slipped carefully inside through a gap in the shattered window. Lily's breath was weak, her pulse barely noticeable beneath her pale skin. With profound gentleness, Scout positioned himself closely beside her, wrapping his large, warm body around her delicate form. He pressed his head softly against her chest, comforted by the faint rhythm of her heart. His steady breathing matched hers, providing solace amid the chill. Hours crept by, agonizingly slow, each second a battle against fatigue and the biting cold. Scout never moved from Lily's side, occasionally licking her cheek, hoping to awaken her from the deepening stillness. Each moment dragged heavily upon Scout's spirit, testing his resolve, yet he refused to surrender to exhaustion. The bond between them transcended words, etched deeply into his heart. His presence was an unwavering promise. Lily would not face this darkness alone. As dawn's first fragile rays filtered through the heavy canopy, casting a gentle glow upon the drenched landscape, the sound of distant footsteps rustled leaves nearby. Scout's ears perked instantly, his weary eyes now alert, his muscles tightened, ready to protect, ready to fight. He lifted his head cautiously, eyes locked in the direction of the approaching presence, filled with cautious hope and lingering uncertainty. Morning light gradually dispersed the storm clouds, unveiling a misty landscape beneath Oregon's lush canopy. Ethan Carter, a seasoned park ranger in his early 60s, carefully navigated the dense forest trail. Ethan was tall, his broad shoulders slightly stooped by years spent outdoors. He had silver hair beneath his wide-brimmed hat and warm eyes, weathered from years of careful observation and patience. His heart had always been deeply connected to these woods, every leaf and branch familiar, every whisper a clue he knew how to interpret. As Ethan's boots pressed softly against the damp earth, something unusual caught his attention. Deep tire tracks, abruptly veering off the main road into thick underbrush, marked with broken branches and freshly disturbed foliage. His heartbeat quickened, instincts sharpened by decades of experience. Kneeling to inspect the marks more closely, Ethan noticed fragments of shattered glass glistening in the morning dew, confirming his growing suspicions that something serious had occurred nearby. Simultaneously, deeper in the forest near the wreckage, Scout, the steadfast German shepherd, continued his vigilant watch. Despite the biting cold and his injuries, Scout remained protectively curled around Lily. His thick sable coat, now muddied and damp, shivered occasionally against the relentless chill. Yet, determination blazed fiercely in his gentle amber eyes, reflecting an unwavering commitment to safeguarding the small girl who depended upon him. Every rustle and snap of twigs caused Scout to raise his head sharply, ears twitching nervously, muscles tensed, ready to fend off any approaching danger. Suddenly, Scout stiffened, his senses alert as a low growl vibrated softly within his chest. Through the underbrush, the shadowy outline of a curious raccoon cautiously approached, sniffing inquisitively around the vehicle's debris. Instinctively, Scout rose slowly, placing himself deliberately between Lily and the intruder, his stance firm despite exhaustion. The raccoon paused momentarily, its beady eyes evaluating the weary dog before deciding to retreat back into the safety of the trees, leaving Scout relieved but increasingly drained. Meanwhile, Ethan continued forward along the trail of disturbed foliage, driven by urgency and hope that he wasn't too late. As the ranger advanced deeper into the woods, his trained ears caught a faint, nearly imperceptible sound carried by the wind, something resembling a weak whimper. Ethan's breath quickened, heart pounding with apprehension. He followed the subtle noise meticulously, each step cautious yet deliberate, unwilling to risk missing any detail that might lead him closer. After what felt like an eternity, Ethan finally glimpsed the crumpled vehicle nestled amidst the trees, its battered frame barely recognizable beneath scattered debris and twisted branches. His chest tightened painfully as the reality of the situation became evident. Approaching slowly, Ethan noted the absence of movement, yet his senses told him something living awaited within the wreckage. Just as he stepped closer, Scout emerged from the shadowy interior, fur bristled, eyes sharp with wary caution and a fierce protectiveness. Ethan stopped immediately, instinctively lowering himself into a non-threatening posture. Softly, he began speaking in gentle tones, carefully extending his palm outward, showing Scout he meant no harm. "Hey there, big guy," Ethan whispered soothingly, eyes never leaving Scout's wary gaze. "I'm just here to help. I promise." Scout hesitated, body trembling from fatigue and distrust, but after several agonizing moments, sensing Ethan's sincerity, he cautiously stepped aside, allowing Ethan access to Lily. The ranger moved swiftly yet gently to Lily's side, checking for a pulse with trembling fingers. Relief surged through him upon detecting her faint heartbeat, weak yet undeniably present. Ethan quickly radioed for emergency assistance, his voice calm despite the storm of emotions inside. While awaiting help, he removed his heavy coat, draping it carefully around Lily's frail frame, whispering soft reassurances, promising her silently that she was no longer alone. Throughout it all, Scout remained close by Ethan's side, eyes heavy but watchful, instinctively sensing the older man's genuine intentions. For Scout, trust did not come easily, especially when it concerned protecting Lily, but in Ethan's calm and experienced presence, he found the first glimmer of hope. Together, they waited, two guardians united by circumstance, sharing the silent vow that they would see Lily safely home. The forest seemed to hold its breath as Ethan slowly knelt beside Lily, his steady hands gently assessing her fragile condition. Scout, the loyal German shepherd, watched closely, his deep amber eyes wary but growing softer as he sensed the genuine care radiating from Ethan's quiet presence. Scout remained near, shivering from exhaustion and pain, yet unwilling to abandon his watchful post beside the small girl who had become the center of his world. Ethan, his brow furrowed with concern, whispered soothingly to Lily, reassuring her unconscious form that help was coming. His voice was low, comforting, a calm murmur amidst the rustling leaves and distant cries of forest birds. Carefully, he began preparing Lily to be moved, supporting her head and wrapping her securely in a thick emergency blanket he'd brought, hoping to shield her from further harm. At first, Scout tensed, uncertain of Ethan's actions, his protective instincts flaring sharply. The powerful dog released a deep, hesitant growl, muscles tightening beneath his mud-streaked coat, as though poised to intervene. Ethan paused immediately, lowering his movements, eyes locked gently onto Scout's own. With slow, deliberate patience, Ethan reached out his open palm, quietly speaking to the wary animal. "It's all right, Scout," he murmured softly, using the name he'd read from the dog's worn leather collar. "You're a brave guardian, I know, but please trust me. Lily needs us both right now." Scout's ears twitched at his gentle tone, eyes searching Ethan's face as if gauging sincerity. Gradually, the dog's stance relaxed, and his guarded expression softened into one of cautious acceptance. Ethan exhaled a relieved sigh, acknowledging Scout's trust with a grateful nod before turning back to Lily. As Ethan carefully lifted Lily from the wreckage, Scout moved beside them, staying protectively close, his gaze never leaving the child he cherished deeply. Together, they navigated the uneven terrain, Ethan's steady footsteps accompanied by Scout's labored breaths, the loyal dog's injuries evident, yet overshadowed by sheer determination. The forest seemed endless in that moment, each step toward rescue, an arduous journey for them both. Soon, sirens pierced the quiet, growing steadily louder as emergency vehicles approached the outskirts of the wooded area. Ethan emerged first, gently cradling Lily's limp form. Medical personnel rushed forward, taking her from his arms swiftly yet tenderly, working rapidly to stabilize her fragile condition. Ethan stepped aside, his gaze filled with worry, heart aching with silent prayers for her recovery. Scout followed closely behind, limping noticeably, his once proud frame now battered and weary, yet his eyes still glistening fiercely with devotion. He paused, hesitating briefly, unsure of what to do next as paramedics placed Lily onto a stretcher. Ethan knelt beside Scout, his voice filled with compassion. "You've done well, my friend," Ethan whispered, gently stroking Scout's thick, damp fur. "We'll take good care of her, I promise." Scout lifted his head slightly, offering Ethan a quiet gaze filled with trust and understanding before slowly moving forward, determined to remain near Lily even now. Recognizing the depth of their bond, the medical team carefully assisted Scout into the ambulance, placing him beside Lily's stretcher, knowing instinctively that separating them now would do more harm than good. Inside the ambulance, Scout lay quietly next to Lily, his head resting gently against her hand, drawing comfort from her faint warmth and presence. Though his wounds were severe and exhaustion weighed heavily upon him, Scout's gaze remained fixed upon Lily's pale face, refusing to succumb to his own pain as long as she needed him near. The ride to the hospital felt both brief and eternal, filled with tense moments and quiet whispers among the medical crew. Scout never moved from Lily's side, his unwavering loyalty an unspoken testament of love and devotion. When the ambulance finally halted at the emergency entrance, medical staff swiftly gathered around, carefully transporting Lily toward immediate medical attention. Scout was gently guided aside, yet he resisted briefly, eyes desperately following her stretcher until she disappeared through the hospital doors. A young veterinary technician named Emma approached Scout gently, her soothing voice coaxing him toward medical care for his injuries. Though hesitant at first, Scout allowed her to lead him forward, sensing in her gentle touch the same kindness Ethan had shown. Still, even as Scout's own wounds were cleaned and tended, his eyes continually returned to the doorway, anxiously waiting for any sign or news of Lily, the girl whose safety had become his singular purpose and heartbeat. The hospital hallway buzzed quietly with subdued urgency, footsteps softly echoing off the sterile white walls. Andrew Bennett sat hunched forward on a faded blue chair, his elbows resting heavily upon his knees, his dark hair tousled from anxious fingers. Andrew, a 38-year-old architect with gentle brown eyes now shadowed by worry, stared blankly at the floor, weighed down by an overwhelming guilt that settled deep within him. His usually confident posture had weakened under the realization that he'd been unable to protect his family when they needed him most. Nearby, Scout lay quietly on a padded veterinary cot in a separate recovery room, his large body draped carefully with blankets. Despite the meticulous care of Emma, the compassionate vet technician who had gently cleaned his wounds and offered him nourishment, Scout refused any food or water. His strong frame trembled occasionally from exhaustion and residual pain, yet his amber eyes, clouded with confusion and longing, never wavered from the doorway, waiting for any news of Lily. Moments later, Dr. Margaret Collins, a compassionate physician in her early 50s with graying hair pulled neatly into a bun, approached Andrew. Her expression was calm but guarded, reflecting years of experience delivering both good and difficult news. Andrew lifted his gaze, hope briefly flickering across his weary face as she softly began to speak. "Lily is stable for now, Doctor," Collins said gently, placing a reassuring hand lightly on Andrew's shoulder. "But her condition remains critical, Mr. Bennett. We'll need to monitor her closely." Andrew's eyes filled with tears he fought hard to hold back, his voice strained as he whispered, "And Hannah? Have you heard anything about my wife?" Dr. Collins hesitated slightly, her eyes conveying deep compassion. "They're still searching. The rescue team hasn't given up hope yet. Stay strong, Andrew." At her words, Andrew's heart sank further, the weight of unresolved grief pressing heavily against him. As Dr. Collins quietly withdrew, Andrew's thoughts spiraled back into painful memories, images of happier days now blurred with recent, painful arguments between himself and Hannah. The bitter truth was undeniable. Their marriage had crumbled under misunderstandings, lingering silences, and unspoken resentments. He remembered the ache in Hannah's blue eyes the day she gently announced their separation, her voice soft yet firm, carrying a sadness he'd never forget. Their recent decision had deeply hurt Lily, whose bright laughter dimmed, replaced by confused silence. It was Hannah's idea to take Lily on the mountain trip, an attempt to heal the fractured pieces of their daughter's fragile heart. Andrew had reluctantly agreed, hoping time apart might bring clarity and mend wounds left by their troubled relationship. Yet now, facing the harsh consequences of their choices, Andrew felt a suffocating regret. In the veterinary recovery room, Scout whined softly, pawing weakly at the edge of his bed, desperately wanting to search for Lily. Emma approached gently, kneeling beside Scout, her compassionate gaze filled with empathy. "It's okay, buddy," she murmured softly, stroking Scout's thick sable coat reassuringly. "Lily's fighting, just like you. You'll both be together soon, I promise." Scout looked at Emma briefly, searching her face as if trying to comprehend her words, before returning his gaze to the doorway, still hopeful for a glimpse of Lily. Emma's heart ached at the dog's unwavering devotion, knowing no words could fully ease his anxiety. Quietly, she continued to sit beside him, offering silent comfort and gentle companionship. Outside, Andrew finally gathered the courage to enter Lily's room, stepping quietly through the doorway. He hesitated briefly, chest tight with emotion, as he saw his daughter lying fragile and pale beneath layers of medical equipment. He gently approached her bedside, taking Lily's small hand into his own trembling one. Andrew whispered softly, his voice breaking with remorse. "I'm so sorry, Lily. I never meant for any of this to happen. I promise I'll never leave your side again." Tears slipped silently down his cheeks, releasing some of the overwhelming burden he carried. In that quiet room, Andrew silently vowed to become the father Lily deserved, determined to mend his family, whatever the cost. He knew it wouldn't erase past mistakes, but his heart filled with newfound purpose. At that moment, his path became clear. He would fight to heal their broken bonds. Meanwhile, Scout continued to wait, refusing rest, eyes locked steadfastly upon the doorway, trusting that the unbreakable connection between himself and Lily would soon reunite them. His loyalty unwavering, Scout remained determined, believing in the healing strength of the bond they shared, a bond stronger than any pain or hardship they had endured together. Several long days drifted by within the sterile walls of the hospital, each moment a quiet battle between hope and despair. Andrew Bennett remained vigilantly at Lily's side, sleeping fitfully on the stiff armchair next to her bed, his usually neat attire now rumpled, revealing the toll of worry and guilt that burdened him. The rhythmic beeping of medical equipment marked the slow progression of time as sunlight gently filtered through the blinds, casting faint golden rays onto Lily's pale, delicate face. Then, one quiet afternoon, Lily's eyelids fluttered gently, slowly opening to reveal soft, confused blue eyes, a profound sadness shimmering beneath her lashes. Andrew immediately moved closer, his heart swelling with relief and cautious joy as he grasped her small hand, whispering tenderly, "Lily, sweetheart, I'm here. You're safe." Lily's eyes searched the room uncertainly, her voice fragile as she asked softly, "Where's Mom? Is she okay?" Andrew hesitated, anguish clouding his expression, unsure how to comfort his daughter when he himself held no answers. Lily interpreted his silence as confirmation of her worst fears, and tears spilled quietly down her cheeks, her small body trembling with profound sorrow. Meanwhile, Scout continued his restless recovery, growing increasingly anxious and despondent as days passed without seeing Lily. Emma, the kind-hearted veterinary technician with a gentle demeanor and long auburn hair pulled into a simple ponytail, grew deeply concerned by Scout's lack of appetite and persistent sadness. Recognizing that Scout needed emotional healing more than anything else, she gently persuaded hospital staff to allow a brief reunion, hoping it would lift both Lily and Scout's weary spirits. Late in the afternoon, as Lily stared blankly out the window, lost in quiet sorrow, Emma softly knocked at the door, smiling gently as she entered the room with Scout slowly trailing behind her. The German Shepherd's movements were cautious, his large paws padding carefully across the hospital floor, amber eyes immediately locking onto Lily's figure. The moment Scout saw Lily awake and alive, a visible shift occurred in him, his weary tail wagging gently, eyes shining with a profound relief and joy. Lily turned slowly, her eyes widening in disbelief and overwhelming emotion as she whispered hoarsely, "Scout?" With sudden energy, Scout moved toward her bedside, pressing his muzzle gently against her outstretched hand, whimpering softly, conveying without words how deeply he had missed her presence. Tears filled Lily's eyes, flowing freely now, as she wrapped her slender arms around Scout's strong neck, burying her face in his thick fur, letting the warmth and love radiating from him begin to mend her broken heart. Andrew watched silently from across the room, profoundly moved by the intimate reunion unfolding before him. For the first time, he truly grasped the extraordinary bond Scout shared with his daughter, witnessing firsthand how Scout's unwavering loyalty was healing Lily's heart in ways he could not have imagined. The realization deeply humbled Andrew, prompting him to reflect sincerely upon his shortcomings, vowing silently to learn from Scout's devotion and become a stronger, more present father for Lily. Hours passed quietly, the warmth of Scout's presence calming Lily's fears and easing the heavy sadness in her heart. Emma gently explained to Lily how tirelessly Scout had fought to protect her during their ordeal, how he'd refused comfort or nourishment until seeing her again. Lily held Scout even closer, whispering softly to him, promising she'd never let him out of her sight again. That evening, after Scout had returned reluctantly to his cot, finally able to rest, knowing Lily was safe, Andrew sat beside Lily's bedside, gently brushing hair from her face, his voice earnest and filled with genuine remorse. "I've made so many mistakes, Lily. I'm so sorry I let our family drift apart. But seeing you with Scout today, seeing the way he loves and protects you, made me realize how much I need to change. I promise, from now on, I'll be the father you deserve." Lily gazed into her father's eyes, sensing the sincerity and deep regret in his voice, finding comfort and newfound hope in his heartfelt promise. Though uncertainty still lingered, the seeds of healing were planted firmly within their hearts, nurtured by the extraordinary love and courage Scout had shown them. Later, as Andrew quietly left the room, Lily lay awake, gently stroking Scout's collar left beside her as reassurance, finally allowing herself to believe in the miracle of love. Her journey toward healing had begun, guided by Scout's unwavering loyalty and the newfound strength within her family, ready to mend together again. Days later, as morning sunlight gently filled Lily's hospital room, Andrew stood quietly near the window, gazing thoughtfully across the peaceful landscape. Scout lay close beside Lily, his thick coat glossy again, amber eyes calm and watchful. Suddenly, the door opened softly, and Dr. Collins stepped in, her face radiant with cautious joy, carrying news that would transform their world once again. "Andrew," she began gently, her voice trembled slightly with emotion, "they've found Hannah. She's alive, badly injured but stable, and she's recovering in another ward." Andrew's heart leapt, a surge of overwhelming relief washing over him. He moved swiftly to Lily's side, gently sharing the miraculous news. Lily's eyes widened, sparkling with tears of hope, her small frame trembling as she absorbed the words she'd been longing to hear. She immediately turned to Scout, embracing him tightly, her tears soaking softly into his fur as she whispered gratefully, "Mom's okay, Scout. She's coming back to us." Scout's tail thumped softly against the bedding, as if understanding the significance of this moment, feeling Lily's joy pulse gently through her touch. Andrew watched them silently, gratitude filling his heart as he reflected upon how deeply their lives had been touched by Scout's unwavering devotion. Later that day, a nurse carefully wheeled Hannah into Lily's room, her delicate features pale but eyes shining warmly beneath her loosely tied golden hair. Her bruised hands reached eagerly for Lily, tears of joy flowing freely down her tired face as she reunited with her daughter. Hannah's gaze found Andrew's, and a quiet exchange of forgiveness and renewed promise passed silently between them, signaling the beginning of their family's healing. Scout observed patiently from beside Lily, his strong body calm yet attentive, watching carefully as his family reconnected. When Hannah finally reached out to him, her gentle hands cupped his face softly, looking deeply into his wise, amber eyes as she whispered softly, "You kept her safe, Scout." "You brought us all back together," Scout responded quietly, pressing his forehead gently into her palms, sensing the sincerity and depth of her gratitude. Over the coming weeks, their family slowly began the process of physical and emotional recovery, finding strength in each other's presence and drawing courage from Scout's steadfast companionship. Andrew, deeply moved by Scout's remarkable loyalty, vowed to honor the lessons he learned from their beloved dog, promising to always put his family's needs first and treasure every moment they shared. On a clear autumn day, after both Lily and Hannah were finally discharged, the Bennett family gathered together in the familiar comfort of their modest home nestled near the edge of the Oregon woods. Sunlight filtered softly through the open windows, filling their living room with warmth and gentle golden hues. Scout lay contentedly near Lily's feet, relaxed and confident, the faithful guardian whose bravery had reshaped their family's destiny. As the afternoon slowly waned, Lily gently rested her head against Hannah's shoulder, a peaceful smile illuminating her face. Andrew watched them quietly, his heart full, finally feeling at ease, knowing they were safe and reunited. The silence was comfortable and healing, unspoken words of gratitude and understanding passing between them. Scout lifted his head slightly, ears perked forward as if sensing the subtle shift in the room's energy. Lily reached down, stroking his soft fur lovingly, whispering softly, "We couldn't have done it without you, Scout. You're more than just a dog. You're family." The German Shepherd's eyes sparkled gently, tail swishing softly, deeply understanding the love and appreciation in her voice. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of pink and gold, Andrew gently placed his hand upon Scout's broad back, murmuring quietly, "Thank you, Scout, for teaching us all about courage, loyalty, and unconditional love." Scout leaned softly into his touch, closing his eyes briefly, accepting the heartfelt gratitude that resonated between them. From that moment on, their family would carry forward the lessons Scout had gifted them, embracing each new day with hope and appreciation. The trials they had endured strengthened their bond, proving beyond any doubt that love and loyalty could indeed overcome even the darkest storms. Scout's unwavering devotion became their guiding light, illuminating the path forward toward healing and a joyful new beginning, forever reminding them of the miraculous power that love truly held. In the end, life's greatest lessons are often taught through the silent loyalty of a dog, whose love knows no boundaries, and whose courage heals even the deepest wounds. Scout reminded us that sometimes Strength means standing faithfully beside those who need us most, offering comfort without expecting reward. If this story touched your heart, please consider joining our journey by subscribing, allowing us to continue sharing meaningful moments together.